I'm Matt Bishar with NAREIT's REIT.com here in Reston, Virginia for the 2015 Leader in the Light Working Forum. I'm joined by Will Teichman, Director of Sustainability with Kimco Realty Corporation. Will, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about the decision to issue corporate sustainability report based on GRI and what the response has been?
Sure. Well, 4 years ago when we started our program, we targeted a number of different methods that we wanted to communicate performance to our stakeholder groups. And we looked at CDP and GRESB as two primary methods, and we started to do that about 4 years ago. We also knew that we wanted to tell our story in a more, I think, authentic and comprehensive way. And so GRI really has provided that platform for us. The GRI standard establishes some basic parameters around which you can create a corporate responsibility report, but there's a fair amount of flexibility there in terms of defining the content. And so we've been able to really tell a narrative or a series of narratives in this report that I think speak beyond just the typical types of numbers that we would respond to a GRESB or CDP report in.
And sticking with reporting, what type of investors are you seeing using sustainability performance data for investment decisions, and how are they going about acting on it?
Sure. Well, I think there's really two different types of investors when it comes to corporate responsibility. You have the responsible investment community that is very focused on a detailed set of issues. They're some of the people who are driving industry surveys and data collection efforts, efforts around standardization in terms of reporting. And they have very specific opinions and things that they're looking for as investment filters. I think more interestingly perhaps and more relevant for all companies is the fact that the traditional investment community over the last several years has become interested in this topic as well. I think they're probably less familiar with the nitty-gritty details in terms of sustainability performance, but they have become concerned that they believe that leading companies should have activity in this space. And so I think in the traditional investment community, sustainability, corporate responsibility has become viewed as a proxy for effective management. So you're seeing many of our traditional investors asking us questions and looking for participation in things like GRESB, CDP, and other forums.
And what are you seeing in the way of so-called green leases or leases with clauses in place to help with sustainability efforts? Are these becoming more common, and what are some of the issues there?
Sure. Well, the term green lease is a somewhat poorly defined term. I think everyone has their own interpretation. At Kimco, we really like to think of a greener lease and not so much sort of a binary green or not green lease. Because when it comes down to the greenness or the sustainability components of a lease, it really comes down to specific lease provisions. So what we've worked to do over time is to improve our base form lease, incrementally speaking, to incorporate more clauses or to modify existing clauses to promote sustainable activity both on the part of Kimco as well as our tenants. We've worked quite extensively with the Department of Energy and with the Institute for Market Transformation over the last 3 years to help stand up the Green Lease Leaders Program. And we're actually represented last year and recognized in the initial class of Green Lease Leaders.
And can you talk a little bit about Kimco's Illumination initiative and what the targets are for 2015?
Sure. Illumination is a program that we launched late last year. It's one of the things that I think we're most excited about in the company. And it really represents a transformational capital improvement program that we plan to roll across a large majority of our sites really over the next probably 5 years. In this initial year, what we've targeted is about 100 properties for retrofits, primarily in our western region, although we do have a sprinkling of sites in other regions of the country. And we're very focused on retrofitting and improving common area lighting. That's relevant for our company for a couple of different reasons. Obviously, there's the sustainability story around improving energy efficiency with products like LEDs. But I think more importantly, it's very consistent with the message and the storytelling that the story that we're attempting to tell as a company around some of our strategic programs and efforts. So we've spoken quite a bit publicly about our efforts to transform our portfolio, disposing of poorer performing or non-strategic assets, and really focusing on sort of key tier 1 markets for our company. And this program works in concert with those efforts to really transform and improve our portfolio. As we look at investing in things like lighting efficiency, it's transformative. It's transformative for properties and really helps to elevate the caliber and tier of the types of sites that we own and manage.
Will, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Great. For more on this and other REIT news and analysis, be sure to visit REIT.com.